Hello, my name's Natasha and today I am going to be telling you about my books, my recent reads. I have a sleeping dog on the floor sharing the blanket with me. It's not that cold, but it's part of the thing that he likes. I think my dogs aren't allowed on furniture in my house, but if we have a blanket that goes down onto the floor, I think then they feel that they're connected and they're part of the same thing. I don't know, it's just something that they've always enjoyed and settled doing. So often when I edit my videos I can hear this sound in the background, and that is, I think, the autofocus, so I've turned it off, so hopefully I'm in focus right now. But yes, today I am going to go through my recent reads of books number 26 to 30 that I have read in 2020, and this is a really good group of books, I would say. I think they all got around 4 stars at least. So book number 26 for 2020 is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, and this is my first Celeste Ng novel. And in this book there is a girl called Julia and she's died, and this book is all about, I thought it was going to be sort of quite crime and murder mystery and all of that sort of thing, and it was going to be quite sort of police heavy and things, but actually it isn't. It's actually a book about family dynamics told through Julia's parents, her younger sister and her brother, and there's bits of Julia herself, and these are things, stories or discussions, or the story is told before and after Julia's death. This was a sad story that actually left me feeling quite frustrated, because it was individuals that can't or won't express their feelings, and that is something that does frustrate me. Not that I think everybody should be gushing and sharing their feelings all the time, but a lack of communication often frustrates me in a book. And I've also just realised, I think earlier on I might have said Julia is dead, but the girl is actually called Lydia, so Lydia is dead. On the front, it does actually, the Marie Claire quote says, "This ghostly debut novel calls to mind the lovely bones," and I would say that's a true comment. It's not a happy-go-lucky sort of book. It is quite a dark, sad, sort of low, negative sort of book. But you can get really deep into the family dynamics and things like that. So some people, it's not a book that I would recommend to many people, but there's certain people that I know that love things like The Lovely Bones or Jodie Picoult's sort of books, and I think they would like this sort of book, so it depends on the individual as to whether I would really recommend it. Overall I gave this 3.5 stars, and it was just a bit sad for I was a bit sad for Lydia really, and the whole family, to be honest. It just wasn't an environment that I would have liked to have been in. One thing I didn't mention was it's set in the 1970s as well, if that makes a difference to you. But yes, so there we go, that's book number 26 of 2020. I don't have a physical copy of book number 27, but that is The Unholy Mooners by Christina Lauren, and I read this on Scribd. I can't believe I was slow to the Scribd party, but I think it's really great for the amount of money that you pay per month. And you can have sort of virtually unlimited books and audiobooks, and I think it's so much better than Audible or other subscriptions. So I'm going to keep Scribd for a little while. I think it's really great. Anyway, I read The Unholy Mooners on Scribd. In The Unholy Mooners there is a wedding, and only 2 people don't get sick, but basically from the wedding, and they therefore go on the honeymoon in place of the bride and groom. The female protagonist is the bride's sister, and the male protagonist is sort of the groom's best friend, and they don't get on. They've never got on since the beginning, and you can imagine the type of things that ensue as they go on holiday together. It had everything that I have come to learn to expect from a Christina Lauren book, but number 1, this was not my favourite of their books, and 2, I kind of missed the more adult bit of it. It felt more PG. It was really easy to read, there's some likeable characters, and enemies to lovers is a really easy win for me, but At the time, I thought that it was a 4 to 4.5 stars. And actually I think 4 is probably a truer thing, because in retrospect, it didn't sing to my heart like some other books have. Or if I think about like The Hating Game, that really sticks with me, and that's a true 5 actually, the more I think about it. So I mean, obviously these star rating things are a bit anyway, but it was good. It was a light-hearted, fun, enjoyable read. I think I read it in like one sitting, and I was disappointed in myself that I didn't pace myself a bit more, because I just read it in no time. So if you like Christine Lauren, if you like romance, if you like enemies to lovers, that sort of thing, then it's a really good book for that. Book number 28 that I have read in 2020 was called Technically You Started It, and this is by Lana Wood Johnson. I listened to this via Scribd, so I had the audiobook, and this book is completely via text message. So it's just the book itself, the physical book, is the transcripts of texts going backwards and forwards, and I don't think that I would get the tone, you don't get the tone and the depth of the text in the same way as just reading them. I think they're not as descriptive, and so I think the audiobook is the way to go with this, because I completely fell for the characters. So we have Martin Nathaniel Monroe II, and there are actually 2 Martin Nathaniel Monroe IIs, and they're actually cousins, and they go to the same school. And one of the Martin Nathaniel Monroe IIs texts Hayley about a class project, and then they begin talking backwards and forwards by text messages, and they develop a relationship, but they barely speak in real life, and it becomes like a text sort of friendship. I was completely invested in this story. It was just purely adorable. It was lovely. It was unexpected, to be honest. It was short, it was sweet, and it was a high school romance. It took me by surprise. I gave it 4 stars, and actually it stuck with me a little bit. I've thought about them, and I'd love to hear more about them, the 2 of them. It's a sort of thing that I really enjoyed the characters, and I'd love to read more about them. So it was just a quick and easy read. I think it was quite a short audiobook actually, because it is just text messages backwards and forwards. I'm not sure that I would have enjoyed it as much, as I said, in a physical form, but as an audiobook it was lovely, really, really nice. So that was book number 28. We've only got 2 books left, and book number 29 is The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. Simpson, I don't know. And in this book we follow Don, a genetics professor, and he is looking for a wife or a life partner, and he sets up like a questionnaire and various things. He's very specific about the individual that he wants to share his life with. I have since read a number of things from the author, and I think there might be a Q&A bit in the back of this book, and in that the author said that a number of people have spoken to him afterwards, after reading this book, and have told him that Don is on the autistic spectrum, and a number of people believe that Don has Asperger's. I enjoyed this book because it was told from a male perspective. It was a male protagonist, not from the female. And also I quite liked that he was a different sort of character. He was quite honest with the way that he liked things. He was very particular about certain things, and I really enjoyed that it wasn't just a predictable boy meets girl and whatever. I mean, there are elements of that, of course, but it had extra depth because of the characters. Also, the side characters are quite interesting too. There's some psychologists, and I just found it to be a really surprisingly good read. It had extra depth and interest, and it just wasn't a light and fluffy cookie cutter kind of romance novel. It just had a little bit of extra something else going on. Bits of it made me laugh, bits of it made me cringe, and it was just a really nice, good book that I would recommend to people that don't like such cliche romances. It has a little bit of something different, so this was a really good surprise for me, and I gave this a very firm 4 stars, and I will be continuing the series. And book number 30, the final book for this video, is Nigel, My Family and Other Dogs by Monty Don. Monty Don is a TV presenter of Gardener's World, which is a BBC show. I don't watch this. I don't watch gardening shows. However, I do love dogs. And this book is all about Nigel, this dog here on the front, and all the other dogs that Monty has had throughout his life. And it was a delightful read, actually, because I love dogs to my core. And in fact, before the shutdown, lockdown, quarantine or whatever, I was planning on travelling to Germany to meet a Brazilian tattoo artist to have tattoo of both of my dogs. And unfortunately that hasn't happened because of coronavirus and the shutdown and everything. But I'm hopefully gonna get something like that in the future. And this was a delightfully endearing yet honest book. It focuses on Nigel, this dog here on the front, and he sounds like a wonderful character. But there are discussions about lots of other dogs, and just people talking about their dogs brings me joy and lights up my life. My dogs are some of the best things in my life. So I read this book with a big grin on my face in lots of places. Not in the places where Monty talks about the dogs that he has lost. That was really sad, but done in a really delicate and well-written way. There were some gardening bits throughout the book. I'm not the target audience for those sections, but there weren't that many. The focus is on the dogs, and so overall I still really enjoyed it, and that was a 4 stars for me. It was a surprise. I mean, of course I knew that I was gonna enjoy this book because it was about dogs, and I'll enjoy anything about dogs, but I didn't expect to enjoy it quite as much as I did. I thought it would have more gardening stuff or more stuff about Monty himself, and to be honest, I didn't care. I wanted it all about the dogs, and that's what it was. It was, oh, it got pictures about all his family dogs. I loved this. I thought it was just gorgeous, even like down to really old dogs that he'd had in the past. Just it was really, really nice. Most of my books I take to charity shops and things like that, but this is going to a family member who I think would really enjoy it. So yeah, that's wonderful. I really, really enjoyed that. So that's the 5 books that I have recently read, books number 26 to 30 for the year 2020. It was a really good bunch of books, at least sort of 4 stars for 4 of them, and then 3.5 for 1 of them. And it was just a really good mix. A couple of them really surprised me. I expected Unholy Mooners to be good, so I'm glad that I stepped out of my rut and the zone of where I normally read. So obviously Nigel, the book about dogs, was really lovely, and technically You Started It was a real surprising audiobook that I enjoyed, that just warms the cockles of your heart when you think about it. Anyway, but I'd love to hear your favourite book that you have read recently. I'm always looking for recommendations. Anyway, thank you for watching, take care, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.